Hello, I'm Kate, Plastic-Free Mermaid, and this is...
I'm Dr. Karl, good morning.
How are you?
Peachy keen, and you?
I'm really great, thank you. So I'm down in Sydney for the Beyond Plastic Pollution Conference. I'm an activist. I work to try to reduce single-use plastic pollution. I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on single-use plastics?
The devil, an abomination. We've got all this oil in the ground, thanks to coal, carboniferous, dinosaurs, 100 millions of years old. I think getting this oil and burning it to make energy is stupid. Getting this oil and using it to make single-use plastics is just crazy because it's such a precious resource. It's got such complex chemicals in it that we should in fact just use it only, number three, using it to make plastics that are multiple use long term, and using just tiny amounts of the oil to make plastics that are good multiple use long term plastics will mean that the oil will survive in the ground for many tens of generations, as opposed to just single use is an abomination.
How do you feel about the waste management systems that are in place in countries like Australia versus less developed countries?
The key word to realise, or the key phrase, is hidden externalities. So you just get these plastics and then you throw them into the environment and you ignore the cost that they have on the environment. That's a hidden externality, and only under those circumstances does it make economic sense. But if you include as the environment in your whole cost basis, then suddenly it doesn't make economic sense. We don't have a full wraparound economic system that includes the environment. There's a concept here called the tragedy of the commons, where we have this common resource or land or anything, and because it's common, we don't value it for various reasons. Some cultures do. At the moment, we're going through a phase where we don't value the commons.
And we also don't value our waste because we're shipping it to China.
We're about to run into a big wall on the 14th of December, the year 2017. China is putting up the green wall. And from then on, no more plastics will be imported into China. No more waste products, whatever waste means. And then it's going to change the whole waste management recycling system that exists in the West that uses China as its garbage dump. China is saying no more for us, and it's going to have a ripple effect backwards.
How do you think we could inspire our country to value our plastic waste, or instead of shipping it away, is there any sort of innovation or design or technology? Why aren't we valuing our waste in that sense to try and recycle it and make something new of it?
Complex answer. Number one, read the book Econobabble by Richard Dennis, D-E-N-N-I-S-S, and he has said we should look at the whole economic system. Number two, why aren't we, what can we do about it? Number two, well, that's easy, get into politics. You can either be, in the words of Lyndon B. Johnson, and putting the polite version, you can either be on the inside of the tent urinating out, or on the outside urinating in. So I would say to many people, run for politics, because that's where the power is. You're not going to be able to influence the politicians as they are now. You've just got to wait for them to die or boot them out of office by running for politics yourself.
Get out there and do it.
Run for politics.
We'll vote for you.
Yeah, and in fact one of the best things that the politicians have done is put out the vibe that politics is a dirty, horrible game that you shouldn't get into. So you say to many people, oh, you should run for politics, and they go, oh, automatically they say, no, it's horrible. And that's exactly what the politicians want. They don't want that you get in there. Now, it is a hard game. The hours are terrible. You'll be there at 6 o'clock in the morning for the raising of the flag at some RSL, and at 11 o'clock at night at some school dance, but you can do good for your children and their children. The main thing I remember when I vote by going up to the local primary school is I am voting for what will benefit my children and their children, not me. And you can be that person on the inside of the tent. You can be the person on TV instead of being outside shouting at the TV. You can do good for the next generation.
plastic entering the food chain. So in the ocean, it's not biodegrading, but it's photodegrading into tiny little particles. And then the phytoplankton and the zooplankton are eating it, and it's bioaccumulating up the food chain. Any thoughts on the impact that will have on marine life that are ingesting these plastic-infused plankton, as well as that effect on humans who are dependent on seafood?
We're not seeing many major effects on humans yet because of the longer reproductive cycle. On the sea creatures, which have a shorter reproductive cycle, we're seeing bad effects. If you consider the point that evolution just tries to get you, or not, that evolution leads to survival of one particular species or another, it's a finely honed process, and chucking huge amounts of plastic is, we can already see, is interfering with the life in the sea, and almost certainly, we haven't got the proof yet, but almost certainly it'll interfere with human life, and we'll pay the penalty for it. Is it related to the lowering sperm count in human males? We don't know. We'll find out later.
Yeah, so is it worth the risk, the gamble?
No. That's crazy. You're just tipping over a finely tuned and evolved pyramid, and not a good thing.
Yeah, because the plastic, as we ingest it, it's estrogen mimicking. Is that correct? Is that how it might impact our reproductive cycle?
That's one of the easy things that we've seen happen. It can be much more complex, but that's one thing we've already seen begin to happen.
Okay, it's scary.
Yes. You're just mucking up a system, and in general, once a system has evolved to be one particular way, all you can do is make it worse, not better, as a general rule.
Because it's evolved on its path to be the best it can be.
Well, to make more babies.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and so all you can do is take away from that.
We have a pretty big addiction to plastic. It's very convenient. It's so accessible. Do you have any ideas or thoughts on how we could wean ourselves off it and maybe go back to the old days of packaged in glass? Or any thoughts on bioplastics?
Well, one advantage of oil into plastic into single use is that if you have a very narrow economic window, it looks easy and cheap. I would say that we should go genetics and kombucha. You've heard of kombucha tea?
Of course, I make some.
It's a fungus and a bacterium in an interesting lifestyle. You can use it to make clothes.
No.
They're doing it at the, wait for it, State Library of Queensland in downtown Brisbane.
Wow.
And
Kombucha Clothing.
Yeah, and it's quite sturdy. So we're using biomaterials.
Yep.
Now, it's not as convenient as using the materials we have, simply because we don't have that long history and the pathways in place to use it.
Like industrial state manufacturing facilities.
Sure.
Okay.
But that just takes time to get up and running.
Yeah.
So check out the State Library of Queensland Kombucha Tea Clothing.
Oh, I can't wait to visit.
And so we can go down that pathway of using the stuff in the environment that's biological. The trouble is that anything biological, being alive, will fight you. So on one hand, it was relatively easy-ish to get to the moon because there wasn't somebody shooting back. But and it's relatively easy to get all of the Earth's electricity, the human-based electricity, or get all of the electricity we need on Earth entirely from renewables within 10 years. Transport, we can go carbon-free within 15 years, but agriculture, well, it's living, it's going to fight us, that's going to take 25, 30 years, but we can do it. From federal to state to municipal to the individual citizen. And so in the USA, at the moment, with regard to global warming, we're seeing the federal government going one way, but some of the states and the cities going the other way, which I think is the right way. So it varies with time, but overall, if you do something, follow the lesson of Gandhi, be the change that you want to see happen.
I love that. Be the change you want to see in the world. Wise words, Dr. Karl.
Oh, well, I stole them from somebody much wiser than myself.
So run for politics, wear kombucha clothing, and make babies.
And be the change.
And be the change. Thanks, Dr. Karl.
Oh, thank you.
Any last words?
Yes, if you don't set up your empire, other people will, and usually at your expense. So that's why you should go into politics.
You got this. be inspired, follow your heart, follow your purpose and your passions, and keep smiling. Oh, I thought you were going to give me a high five.